Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into the explosive beginning of a global phenomenon, a story that kicks off the day 100 years of fragile peace was just completely shattered. This one line heard right after the catastrophe, it just perfectly sums up the core trauma that ignites the entire story. It really speaks to this sudden, profound loss of safety, of innocence, and the very idea of what home even is. So let's set the scene, right? For a full century, what's left of humanity has been living inside these three enormous concentric walls, Maria, Rose, and Sina. They thought these walls were their salvation, an absolute unbeatable defense against the giant man-eating titans that roamed the world outside. Inside that outermost wall, Wall Maria, life had gotten pretty mundane, pretty predictable. But for some people, that safety felt less like a sanctuary and more like a really gilded cage. And this captures the central tension perfectly. On one hand, you've got the garrison soldiers. They're so complacent, so comfortable, that they're literally drinking on the job, just laughing off any idea of a real threat. And on the other hand, there's this kid, Aaron Yeager, who sees this so-called peace for what it is, a prison. He absolutely hates the idea of living and dying like livestock, totally clueless about the huge world just beyond the walls. And right there, that's our first real look at the core theme of the whole story, the suffocating comfort of being safe versus that dangerous, burning desire for real freedom. Okay, so let's get to it. The moment this false peace just shatters in a single, terrifying instant. 50 meters. That's how high Wall Maria was. For generations, that height was seen as just impossible, an insurmountable barrier. It wasn't just a wall, right? It was the ultimate symbol of their security. And then, in a literal flash of lightning and a deafening boom, the unthinkable happens. A massive, skinless face just peers over the top of the wall. It's the face of humanity's extinction, the Colossal Titan. The attack is just brutally efficient. The Colossal Titan kicks the outer gate open, and then a second one, the Armored Titan, smashes right through the main wall. The invasion is fast and it's horrible, but for Aaron, it all leads to this unbearable personal tragedy. He has to watch, totally helpless, as a Titan eats his mother. And that moment, that forges a vow of pure, raw revenge in his heart. So, fueled by this unimaginable loss and just this white-hot hatred, Aaron, his fiercely protective sister Mikasa, and their best friend Armin, they make a choice that's going to change everything. They're going to fight back. The survivors enlist in the 104th Cadet Corps, and they're immediately confronted by this guy, Commander Keith Shadis. His entire job is to break them, to weed out the weak, and to drill a brutal new reality into their heads. And the question he asks them, it's not just a threat. It basically becomes the core philosophy of their new life. For 3 years, it is just hell. They have to master the ODM gear, that crazy system of grappling hooks and gas that lets them fight in 3 dimensions. They learn hand-to-hand combat, and most importantly, they learn the one and only way to kill a Titan, a deep slice into the nape of its neck. But here's the thing about Aaron. He is not a natural. Not at all. He struggles big time, and nearly fails the basic test for the ODM gear. But then it turns out his gear was broken the whole time. He manages to pass using faulty equipment through pure, stubborn determination. And that becomes his defining trait, Not some genius talent, but just this unbreakable will. Okay, fast forward 5 years. The cadets have graduated. They're soldiers now, full of purpose. But their first taste of a real battle, it is not a glorious victory. It's a complete slaughter. And the timing is just so cruel, it's almost poetic. Right as these new soldiers are about to pick their military paths, and most of them are choosing the safe interior, their worst nightmare returns. The Colossal Titan is back, and it breaches the second wall, Wall Rose. The reality of combat is nothing like their training. These fresh graduates are thrown into absolute chaos. They're watching veteran soldiers get swatted from the sky and devoured. Their strategies, their formations, they just fall apart instantly. And any idealism they had is just crushed by the overwhelming, terrifying power of the Titans. And then the crucial moment. In a desperate act to save Armin, Aaron sacrifices himself. He loses an arm, and then he's swallowed whole. So yeah, the story's main character is seemingly killed just as his journey begins. Or So it seems. Just when all hope seems completely lost, with the surviving cadets out of gas, cornered, and about to die, something totally impossible happens. A new Titan appears, but this one's different. They call it an abnormal. It completely ignores the terrified humans. Instead, it turns on its own kind, fighting with a purpose, a skill and a rage that no one has ever seen before, single-handedly turning the tide of the entire battle. The surviving soldiers, especially Mikasa and Armin, can only watch in stunned silence. What is this thing? Is it a savior, or is it just a more strategic enemy that's going to turn on them eventually too? And this leads us to the story's first massive game-changing twist. After the rogue Titan collapses from exhaustion, a figure emerges from the steam coming off its nape. It's Eren Yeager, alive and whole. Humanity's greatest weapon against the monsters is one of them. This reveal leaves us with a provocative question that just hangs over the entire story from this point on. What do you do when the very thing you've sworn to destroy becomes your only hope for survival? The line between friend and foe has just been blurred forever.